Welcome to NCRP 291 Psychology of Peace Building. This is your getting started intro to your professor to help you feel comfortable with doing what you need to do to prepare for our time together the next 15 weeks over the semester. I have taught variations of psychology of peace building since I was first asked to teach undergraduates at the University of California, Berkeley, 25 years ago. I was asked to teach an introduction to conflict resolution theories and techniques within peace studies and international studies. So I have been teaching variations of this for a long time. But what I wanted to introduce you to today is some of my background before I started teaching at the university and college level, and also my approach to psychology of peace building, because it's definitely an experiential education class. This is not a test exam class where I give you lectures with PowerPoints, lots of information, and you try to memorize it, regurgitate it, and repeat it back to me. No. This is a course that will hopefully empower you as a human being, as an undergraduate, in all the peace building that you attempt to do. And we all are involved in choices every day of our lives with whether we build peace within ourselves, with our close friends and family members, or whether we create conflict. Some of our cultures are more violent prone, plant seeds of violence more than they do peace. We're going to be exploring that, and we're also going to be exploring our gender identity, because toxic masculinity, as we will be studying, is very much rooted in a violent perspective approach, a competitive win-lose approach to how we live our lives. I'm not saying that all men create conflict and are violent. No, I'm not saying that at all. Both women and men are capable of both peace and violence, but there are these overall ways, what we'll call social learning and cultural spillover, that we learn from our youngest days that either contribute to peace or contribute to violence, competition, and conflict. My own background, before I started teaching at the university college level, I was a practitioner of peace building. And I did that. I started at your age, actually. I was very drawn to yoga when I was your age. I also was asked to facilitate a philosophy of life group among international students. So that was my first taste of what I do now all around the world, and I loved it, obviously. I grew up in a multicultural home where 3 languages were spoken. I grew up in a working class urban neighborhood where some of my, believe it or not, African American students at Dominguez also attended elementary and middle school with me. It's amazing. When I came to Dominguez, I had some of the students in my graduate classes who had actually attended schools that I had attended, or their sisters and brothers had attended those schools. My parents took me out to the more affluent suburban life, so I had that different cultural experience. And I certainly have my opinions about peace building and violence that include suburbia and more affluent, what we call privileged communities, because we all know there's a lot of secrets behind closed doors, and there's a lot of judges and doctors abusing their wives and their children. We just don't talk about it that much. The media does not show it the way it should, really. It would help equalize our society. But when I went to school, I really wanted to help people. I was an activist against world hunger. I went to a faith-based college for 2 years. My grandfather built the church in the community close to where I grew up, and my mother was thrown out of the church at 9 years old when her father abandoned her and my grandmother and her sister in Chicago. So don't make any assumptions about how I think or what I believe, but I did go to a faith-based school and we did do activism. I was also invited by a migrant farm worker's family to live in the projects with him and his wife and his children. And that really had a great influence on me. I ended up designing my own degree in nonprofit administration. But I wanted to, and I was a champion on behalf of girls and the women who wanted, to champion those girls from a young age. But I wanted to test my own potential as a woman, so I went to law school. I was fortunate in the Midwest. The public law schools are ranked in the top 20 law schools in the nation, along with UC Berkeley and UCLA, some of the Ivy League schools. So I was able to go to a top 20 law school and keep my student debt very minimal, very low. I hope you're doing the same right now. It's horrible what's happened with student debt. But the reason I'm telling you all this is because law is very much a part of peace building. You need to have trusted lawyers in your life if you're going to fight for social justice, because of all that can go on. And activism, nonviolent activism, is also very much a part of peace building, along with facilitating multicultural and interfaith dialogue and understanding. These are all threads that led to what I am teaching you in psychology of peace building. Now, when I was asked to teach within peace studies and international studies at the University of California, Berkeley, is when countries around the world, starting with Norway, ironically and beautifully, where my own grandmother was born. Norway is where, the Nobel Peace Prize was created with Swedish influence. I started to work with people around the world in how do we bridge our differences and get to know each other and understand each other. But even more importantly, how do we learn to collaborate and creatively solve the problems that face us together to create shared social justice? And I have been doing that. One of the books that I have written, it's not the one that you will be using in this course, but if you're interested, you're welcome to look at it. It has several case studies of that international peace building work. Most of you, though, will be interested in your own daily lives and your own relationships with boyfriends, girlfriends, parents, children, siblings, day-to-day life. I've been teaching this now at Dominguez Hills for a while too, and most of you are going to be asking me about your own inner conflicts, empowering yourself to be more effective, to protect yourself in daily life, and to make peace with the people in your life. So what I did when I first was asked to teach this course to undergrads, as I said, I am going to use all the theories of conflict and peace that have proved themselves in real day-to-day life. So they can't just be your psychology professor's research study or lab study, because a lot of that does not translate to the real world. These theories that you will be introduced to and these techniques of peace building must be field tested in the real world. And I can promise you everything that you will learn in psychology of peace building has proved itself again and again in the real world, including my real world practice of many years. And you will find that everything you learn here will empower you. And now the books that you are using in this course are my books. I've written workbooks to help you start feeling confident. Practice, peace building within yourself. Practice peace building with your roommate. That's a common one that you'll work with in this class as well. And as you practice, I will be helping you with, okay, how do you refine your understanding? How do you refine your peace building practice so that you become more and more effective? The other thing I'm really happy to say as I introduce myself to you, I have known this the whole time I've been teaching negotiation, conflict resolution, and peace building. Career centers, career counselors study the skills that employers want undergraduates to have. They want to hire undergraduates. They don't care what your major is, frankly. They want you to have a degree, but most importantly, they want you to have this set of skills that you will be introduced to and you will start developing and practicing in this course. These courses will help you with a multicultural interfaith workplace, with being more innovative. They will help you be more persuasive when you give oral presentations. They will help you do everything I've been doing as a practitioner and a professor of peace building. So I hope I've told you enough about myself, so you're feeling good about your choice in taking this course. I think the last thing I want to say is students at Dominguez have nominated me and supported me in receiving one of the professor awards at Dominguez. That means most of my students have enjoyed me and felt comfortable working with me in class. Because you're doing this fully virtual, you need to take more initiative to communicate with me, to reach out to me, to get to know me, to work with me. But I'll tell you, I have an undergrad from last semester who's meeting with me next week. I have a lot of students who I mentor, and I would encourage you to be one of them. I look forward to working with you and getting to know you. Take good care.